I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good, especially when it comes to uncovering the secrets of the economy. Welcome back to Marauder's Map to Wall Street. I'm your host, Varnika. In our first episode, we looked at the S&P 500 as one big map. But if you look closer, the people on that map aren't all in the same room. Today, we're heading to the Great Hall to understand why companies are put into different groups called sectors. It's time to see where the sorting hat puts the biggest names in business. Think of a sector simply as a category. You can't compare a company that makes surgery robots to a company that sells boxes of cereal. They have totally different jobs. To keep things organized, Wall Street groups them into 11 main sectors, like technology, healthcare, and energy. Why do we do this? It's all about diversification, to be honest. You've probably heard the phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Even the legendary Warren Buffett says that the smartest move for most people is to own a little bit of everything. But here's the thing. True diversification isn't just about owning different stocks. It's about owning different kinds of things. Imagine your wizarding vault, your portfolio. A smart wizard doesn't just fill their vault with one type of gold coin. They might have stocks or equities. When you buy a stock, you own a tiny piece of a company. These are your growth assets. If the company does well, so does your vault. This usually starts with names like Apple or Disney or Google. Then there are bonds or sources of fixed income. Think of these as Gringotts IOUs. When you buy a bond, you are lending your money to a government or a giant corporation for a set time. In return, they pay you interest, somewhere between 1% to 5%. Bonds are like the shield charm of your vault. They don't grow as fast as stocks, but they are much steadier and protect you when the stock market gets bumpy and uncertain. Then there are international items. Make sure to not keep all your gold in one castle. If the US economy has a bad year, maybe the markets in India or Europe are thriving. By owning international funds like an emerging markets ETF, you ensure your wealth isn't tied to the luck of just one country. Then there are commodities. These are physical goods, the potion ingredients of the world. We're talking about gold, oil, copper, crude oil. Gold is the ultimate safe haven. When people are scared of the economy, they trade their paper money for the physical gold. It's a way to ensure your vault has value even if paper or money markets fail. Now, let's look at the map for the first week of March 2026. This week, we're seeing something called sector rotation. This is just a fancy way of saying that big investors, the Aurors of Wall Street, are moving their footprints from one room to another because the environment is changing. For the last year, everyone was crowded into the technology room, chasing AI dreams. But right now, those footprints are slowing down. Tech giants like Nvidia and Microsoft are actually seeing their prices dip slightly. Why? Because the headmaster, the Federal Reserve, is keeping interest rates high. When it's expensive to borrow money, high-growth tech companies find it harder to climb. Instead, look at the footprints rushing into energy and gold. Because of the sudden tensions in the Middle East, the price of oil is spiking, making companies like ExxonMobil and Chevron look like heroes. Even more shocking, gold just hit a massive monthly high, trading near $5,200 an ounce. This map is telling us that in March 2026, investors are running away from flashy tech and towards sturdy energy and gold. They are looking for value companies that make real things we need every day. To make this stick, let's see where the sorting hat puts the 11 main sectors. We can group them into 3 houses. First, we have Gryffindors, the growth sectors. This is technology and communication services, names like Apple and Meta. They're brave and want to change the world. They lead the charge when the economy is great, but they get the most nervous when the rules of the castle, that is the interest rates, shift. Then there is Hufflepuff, the defensive sectors. These are utilities and grocery stores. Think of NextEra or NextEra Energy or Walmart. These are steady and reliable. No matter what is happening, people still need electricity, medicine, and food. When there's a troll in the dungeon, there's uncertainty in the market, everyone runs to Hufflepuff for safety. Lastly, we have Slytherin, the cyclical sectors. These are financial sectors and energy sectors. Names like JP Morgan Chase or Shell. They're very sensitive to the environment. They can be incredibly powerful, but you have to watch the price of oil or bank rates carefully. The sorting hat shows us that even if the markets look down, It might just mean the footprints are moving to a different house. If you're diversified, you have an ally or a best friend in every house, so you're always protected. The S&P 500 is your map. The sectors are your room and the diversification is your shield. This month, keep an eye on those Hufflepuff footprints. If the quiet corridors of utility and healthcare stay full, it's a sign the market is looking for cover. In our next episode, we'll dive into the gravity charm of interest rates. We'll explore how the central bank's decisions act like a heavy spell, pulling down on everything, from your future home's mortgage to how many new jobs companies can afford to create. You'll see why a simple change in the rules of the castle can make the housing market chill long before the rest of the world notices. The staircases move when the markets change, but the data always leaves a trail. Thanks for joining me for episode 2 of Marauder's Map to Wall Street. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, mischief managed.